The difference between being busy and being productive becomes clear when you approach tasks from stillness rather than anxiety. Busy people rush through activities while mentally rehearsing future scenarios or replaying past conversations. Productive people bring complete attention to whatever they're doing, allowing each action to emerge from the same source of intelligence that grows flowers and moves planets. Picture this. You're sitting in complete silence, doing absolutely nothing, and suddenly everything you've ever wanted begins flowing into your life. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? Yet this is exactly what happens when you understand the most powerful secret in manifestation, one that goes against everything our achievement-obsessed culture teaches us. Welcome to a journey that will completely transform how you think about creating your reality. What if I told you that the secret to getting everything you want isn't about doing more, but about doing less? What if the key to manifestation isn't effort, but effortlessness? Today, we're exploring one of the most counterintuitive truths in conscious creation. That stillness, not struggle, is the true engine of manifestation. While the world tells you to hustle harder, visualize more intensely, and take massive action, ancient wisdom and modern science are revealing something profound. The quieter you become, the more you manifest. Think about water for a moment. When it's turbulent and choppy, you can't see through it. But when water becomes perfectly still, it becomes a clear mirror, reflecting everything around it with perfect clarity. Your consciousness works exactly the same way. When your mind is churning with effort and anxiety, you can't perceive the infinite possibilities available to you. But when you become still, your consciousness becomes a clear mirror that reflects your desires back to you as reality. This isn't some mystical concept that only works for meditation masters sitting on mountaintops. This is a practical, scientifically backed approach that anyone can use. In the quantum field, the observer effect shows us that consciousness itself shapes reality. When you're frantically trying to manifest through effort, you're actually creating interference patterns that block what you're seeking. But when you become still, you align with the natural creative force of the universe itself. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why doing nothing is actually doing everything, how to access the field of pure potentiality through stillness, and practical techniques that will revolutionize your manifestation practice. You'll learn the crucial difference between emptiness and true stillness, understand why your external world mirrors your internal state, and master the art of present moment awareness where all creation occurs. Prepare to unlearn everything you thought you knew about creating your reality. The journey from effort to effortlessness begins now. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Effort. Sarah worked 18-hour days, visualized for hours, created detailed vision boards, and took what every manifestation teacher called massive action. Yet after 2 years of this exhausting routine, she was further from her dreams than when she started. Meanwhile, her friend Michael seemed to effortlessly attract opportunities, relationships, and abundance without apparent struggle. What Sarah didn't understand was that she'd fallen victim to the greatest lie in modern manifestation teaching, that effort equals results. The modern manifestation movement has created a dangerous myth that's keeping millions of people stuck in cycles of struggle and disappointment. This myth says that if you're not seeing results, you need to try harder, visualize longer, take more action, and push through resistance. But here's what the teachers aren't telling you. Effort in manifestation works exactly like trying to fall asleep. The harder you try, the more elusive it becomes. When you operate from effort, you're fundamentally operating from a state of lack. Think about it. Why would you need to effort so hard if you truly believed what you wanted was already yours? Every visualization session that feels forced, every affirmation that feels empty, every action step that feels like pushing a boulder uphill is actually sending a signal to the universe that says, I don't have this yet, and I'm not sure I ever will. This creates what physicists call resistance in the energy field. Just as electrical resistance blocks the flow of current, energetic resistance blocks the flow of your manifestations. The more you push, the more resistance you create. The more resistance you create, the slower your manifestations appear, if they appear at all. Consider how nature operates. Trees don't strain to grow. Rivers don't struggle to flow downhill. Flowers don't effort to bloom. They simply align with natural forces and allow those forces to work through them. The oak tree doesn't try to be mighty. It becomes mighty by surrendering to the intelligence that knows exactly how to transform an acorn into a giant. This isn't to say that inspired action isn't important, but there's a world of difference between inspired action and effortful action. Inspired action feels easy, natural, and perfectly timed. It flows from stillness rather than anxiety. It emerges from knowing rather than hoping. When you're aligned with the natural flow of creation, the right actions reveal themselves without struggle. The entrepreneurs who build empires often speak of being in flow. Athletes describe peak performance as effortless. Artists talk about creativity moving through them rather than from them. They've all discovered what the ancient masters knew. True power comes not from forcing, but from allowing. Your breakthrough moment will come when you realize that manifestation isn't about making things happen. It's about letting things happen. It's about becoming so aligned with what you desire that it has no choice but to appear in your reality. This alignment happens in stillness, not in struggle. Chapter 2. The Science of Surrender. Dr. Amit Goswami, quantum physicist and author, made a startling discovery that changed how we understand consciousness and reality. Through rigorous scientific study, he found that consciousness doesn't emerge from matter. Matter emerges from consciousness. This revelation explains why surrender is so powerful in manifestation. When you surrender, you're not giving up your power. You're accessing the fundamental creative force of the universe itself. Surrender isn't weakness. It's accessing the quantum field of infinite possibility. This chapter explores the scientific foundation behind why letting go accelerates manifestation. In quantum physics, the observer effect demonstrates that the act of observation itself influences reality at the subatomic level. When particles exist in a state called superposition, they exist in all possible states simultaneously until they're observed. The moment you observe them, they collapse into a single, definite state. Your desires exist in this same state of superposition, as pure potential waiting to collapse into physical reality. But here's the crucial part. They collapse into reality not through your effort to observe them, but through your willingness to stop looking for them. When you surrender your attachment to how and when they appear, you remove the interference that keeps them in superposition. Attachment creates resistance in the energy field because it's fundamentally based on the belief that you don't have what you want. Every time you check to see if your manifestation is working, you're collapsing the wave function into the reality of not having it yet. This is why the most desperate seekers often manifest the least, while those who care the least often manifest the most. Neuroscience reveals another layer of this truth. When your brain is in a state of anxious striving, it produces stress hormones like cortisol that literally shut down your ability to perceive new possibilities. Your brain's reticular activating system, which filters reality based on what you believe is possible, becomes locked into patterns of lack and limitation. But when you enter surrender states, your brain produces different neurochemicals. Gamma waves associated with heightened perception, and alpha waves linked to creativity and insight. In these relaxed states, your brain becomes more neuroplastic, more open to new neural pathways. You start noticing opportunities that were always there, but invisible to your stress consciousness. Synchronicities begin appearing not because the universe suddenly started conspiring in your favor, but because you're finally calm enough to notice the conspiring that was happening all along. The illusion of control keeps you trapped in limitation, because control requires you to know how your desire will manifest. But the universe has access to infinite pathways that your conscious mind could never conceive. When you surrender control, you're not giving up your power to choose. You're expanding your power to receive from pathways beyond your current awareness. Think of surrender as tuning into a radio station. When you're attached and effortful, you're like someone frantically adjusting the dial, creating static and interference. But when you surrender, you find the exact frequency where the signal comes through crystal clear. The transmission was always there. You just needed to stop interfering with it. True surrender means releasing not just the outcome, but your attachment to any specific timeline. The universe operates in perfect divine timing, orchestrating countless variables to deliver your desires in the most beneficial way possible. Your job isn't to figure out the timing. It's to maintain the vibration of already having what you want, regardless of current circumstances. Chapter 3: Stillness versus Emptiness, the crucial distinction. Maria sat in meditation for hours each day, desperately seeking the peace and manifestation power she'd read about in spiritual books. But instead of clarity, she felt an aching emptiness that seemed to grow stronger with each session. What Maria didn't realize was that she'd fallen into one of the most common traps on the spiritual path, mistaking emptiness for stillness. Not all quiet states are created equal. This distinction between transformative stillness and destructive emptiness is crucial for anyone serious about manifestation. The confusion between these two states has led countless seekers down dead-end paths, wondering why their meditation practice feels hollow and their manifestations remain elusive. Emptiness is the ego's counterfeit of stillness. When you sit in meditation, trying to empty your mind, try to get rid of thoughts, try to feel nothing, you're actually operating from a place of resistance and rejection. This creates what spiritual teachers call egoic emptiness, a void that feels dead, hollow, and disconnected from life itself. Egoic emptiness often carries the energy of generational trauma patterns. You might feel like you're seeking spiritual connection, but unconsciously you're recreating familiar patterns of emotional numbness that were passed down through your family line. This false emptiness becomes a spiritual hiding place where the ego can avoid the vulnerability of true presence. True stillness, by contrast, isn't empty at all. It's incredibly full. It's the fullness of pure awareness, alive with infinite potential. When you drop into authentic stillness, you don't disappear. You become more present, more aware, more connected to the essence of who you are. Instead of feeling nothing, you feel everything with perfect clarity and peace. Here's how to recognize the difference. Egoic emptiness feels dead, disconnected, and often slightly depressed. You might feel like you're floating in a void with no anchor to reality. True stillness feels alive, connected, and deeply peaceful. You feel both completely relaxed and vibrantly alert at the same time. In true stillness, thoughts don't disappear. They simply lose their compulsive power over you. You become the aware space in which thoughts arise and pass away, rather than being hypnotized by their content. This aware space is your true nature, and it's from this space that all manifestation flows. The spiritual essence within matter becomes apparent in true stillness. Rather than rejecting the physical world as illusion, you recognize matter as spirit in form. Your body becomes a temple, your environment becomes sacred, and your daily activities become opportunities for presence and creation. This is why some of the most powerful manifestors are deeply grounded in physical reality while simultaneously connected to transcendent awareness. They've learned to infuse spirit into daily life rather than escaping daily life to find spirit. To cultivate authentic stillness, begin with acceptance rather than elimination. Instead of trying to stop thoughts, welcome them with compassionate awareness. Instead of trying to feel nothing, feel everything without resistance. Instead of trying to disappear, become more present to the miracle of existence itself. When you rest in true stillness, you discover that you're not separate from the creative intelligence that moves the stars and grows the flowers. You are that intelligence expressing itself through human form. From this recognition, manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. Chapter 4: The Mirror Effect. How Reality Reflects Consciousness. James stared at his bank account balance with growing frustration. Despite months of visualizing abundance, his financial situation hadn't improved. In fact, it seemed to be getting worse. Every morning, he'd check his balance hoping to see improvement, and every morning, disappointment would flood through him. What James didn't understand was that his very act of checking was creating the lack he was experiencing. Your external world is a perfect mirror of your internal state. This isn't metaphysical theory. It's the fundamental mechanism by which consciousness creates reality. Every time you look for evidence that your manifestation is working, you're literally creating evidence that it isn't. The consciousness reality feedback loop works like this. Your internal state creates your vibrational frequency, which determines what you attract into your experience. When you feel lack, you emit the frequency of lack, which attracts more experiences of lacking. When you feel abundance, you emit the frequency of abundance, which attracts more experiences of having. But here's where most people get trapped. They wait for external evidence before they'll allow themselves to feel abundant. They think, I'll feel wealthy when I see money in my bank account. This backwards approach ensures that abundance remains forever out of reach because you're requiring the mirror to change before you change what it's reflecting. The moment you check whether your manifestation is working, you collapse into the consciousness of not having it yet. Your checking behavior itself is evidence of doubt, and doubt is what gets reflected back to you as continued lack. This is why the most successful manifestors often seem almost indifferent to whether their desires are manifesting. They've learned to generate the feeling of having regardless of current circumstances. Breaking the cycle of waiting and wanting requires a fundamental shift in how you relate to time and desire. Instead of thinking, I want this, you must shift to, I have this, and it's showing up in my experience in perfect timing. Instead of hoping it will happen, you must know it's already happened in the realm of possibility and is simply moving through the time-space dimensions to reach you. This shift from hope to knowing happens when you understand the desire itself is proof of availability. You can't want something that doesn't already exist in potential. Your desire is actually the universe's way of informing you that what you want is already yours. You just need to align with the version of yourself that has it. Moving from hope to knowing requires you to cultivate what manifestation masters call living in the end. This means assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled regardless of current circumstances. Instead of trying to manifest $1 million, you practice feeling like someone who has $1 million. Instead of trying to attract your soulmate, you practice feeling loved and complete. The key is understanding that feeling follows thought, but experience follows feeling. When you change your thoughts, your feelings eventually change. When you change your feelings, your external experience must change to match because the mirror has no choice but to reflect what you're being. This requires tremendous faith because you must maintain the feeling of having before you see the evidence of having. But this is exactly how the universe tests your readiness to receive. Those who can hold the frequency of their desire without external validation are the ones who receive their manifestations most quickly. Remember, the universe isn't withholding anything from you. You're withholding yourself from it through the consciousness of separation and lack. The moment you align with the consciousness of already having, the mirror of reality begins shifting to reflect your new state of being. Chapter 5. The Power of Present Moment Awareness. Einstein's theory of relativity revealed that time isn't the fixed constant we thought it was. It's relative to the observer's state of consciousness. What most people don't realize is that this scientific breakthrough holds the key to manifestation mastery. When you learn to anchor your awareness fully in the present moment, you literally gain access to the timeless dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Manifestation doesn't happen in the future. It happens in the eternal now. This chapter teaches you how to anchor your awareness in the present moment where all creation occurs. The reason most manifestations feel slow or stuck is that people are trying to create from time consciousness rather than timeless awareness. Future-focused thinking actually delays manifestation because it reinforces the belief that what you want exists out there in some distant timeline. Every time you think, I hope this manifests soon, or I wonder when this will happen, you're pushing your desire away from the present moment, the only moment where creation can actually occur. Time consciousness traps us in perpetual waiting because it's based on the illusion of linear progression. In time consciousness, you believe you must go from where you are to where you want to be through a series of logical steps. But creation doesn't work linearly. It works holographically. In the present moment, all possibilities exist as potential, and your consciousness selects which possibility becomes actual. The timeless quality of true stillness allows you to access what quantum physicists call the implicate order, the realm of pure potential from which all physical reality emerges. When you're fully present, you're not bound by the limitations of past conditioning or future anxiety. You have direct access to the field of infinite possibility. Here's a practical technique for collapsing time and space. Instead of visualizing your desire as something you'll have in the future, bring it completely into the present moment. Feel what it would feel like to have it right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but in this very instant. Allow yourself to be flooded with the feeling of already having it, already being it, already living it. This isn't positive thinking or pretending. It's accessing the truth of what already exists in potential. When you feel your desire as a present reality rather than a future possibility, you align with the timeline where it's already manifested. The physical world then rearranges itself to match your present moment awareness. Present moment awareness also reveals why gratitude is so powerful in manifestation. This gratitude generates the feeling of having, which attracts more things to be grateful for. But when gratitude becomes a technique to get something in the future, it loses its power because you've moved out of present moment authenticity. The most advanced manifestation masters live in a state of constant appreciation for what is, while simultaneously holding awareness of what's emerging. They don't need their desires to manifest quickly because they're already fulfilled in the present moment. This paradoxical state of satisfied desire creates the perfect conditions for instant manifestation. To anchor yourself in present moment awareness, practice what Eckhart Tolle calls the power of now. Notice when your mind drifts into past regrets or future anxieties, and gently return your attention to what's happening right here, right now. Feel your breath, notice your surroundings, appreciate the miracle of existence itself. From this foundation of present moment awareness, your manifestations stop feeling like something you're trying to create and start feeling like something you're allowing to emerge. The universe's perfect timing becomes apparent, and you realize that everything is always happening exactly when it's supposed to happen for your highest good. Chapter 6. Accessing the Field of Pure Potentiality. A renowned physicist once described consciousness as the field from which all matter emerges, not the other way around. This isn't mystical theory. It's cutting-edge science revealing what ancient masters have always known. Within stillness lies your direct connection to the field of pure potentiality, the source of all creation. Deepak Chopra identified 3 fundamental pillars for accessing this field: silence, meditation, and non-judgment. These aren't just spiritual practices. They're practical technologies for tapping into the infinite creative force that shapes reality itself. When you master these 3 pillars, you move from trying to manipulate circumstances to aligning with the very intelligence that creates circumstances. The first pillar is silence. Not just external quiet, but the profound inner silence that emerges when you stop the constant mental commentary that usually runs your life. Start with short periods, even 5 minutes of intentional silence, each morning before engaging with the world. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and resist the urge to fill the space with thoughts, plans, or distractions. Your mind will rebel initially, flooding you with urgent thoughts and creating discomfort, but this resistance is actually proof that you're accessing something powerful. True silence isn't empty, it's incredibly full. It's like dropping a small stone into a perfectly still pond and watching the ripples spread outward in perfect concentric circles. When your consciousness becomes that still pond, even the faintest intention creates ripples across the entire field of universal consciousness. But if your mind resembles a turbulent ocean, you could throw the Empire State Building into it and create no meaningful effect. The second pillar is meditation, which Chopra defines as the practice of returning your attention to pure awareness itself. Unlike concentration techniques that focus on objects, pure potentiality meditation involves resting in the source of attention, the aware space in which all thoughts, sensations, and experiences arise. Begin with simple breath awareness, but gradually shift your attention from the breath to the awareness that's aware of the breath. During meditation, you're not trying to stop thoughts or achieve any particular state. You're simply returning again and again to the recognition of your essential nature as pure consciousness. Each time you notice you've been lost in thought and gently return to awareness, you're strengthening your connection to the field of pure potentiality. This field is always present. You're just learning to recognize it and align with it consistently. The third pillar is non-judgment, which creates the openness necessary for infinite possibilities to emerge. When you constantly evaluate and categorize your experiences as good or bad, right or wrong, you create mental barriers that separate you from the natural flow of creative intelligence. Non-judgment means developing the capacity to observe what's happening without immediately labeling it or trying to change it. Practice non-judgment by treating your thoughts like a gentle flowing river. Instead of jumping into the river and being swept away by each thought, sit on the riverbank of awareness and watch thoughts flow by without engaging them. When you notice judgment arising, and it will, simply notice the judgment without judging the judgment. This creates layers of awareness that exponentially expand your access to pure potentiality. Spending time in nature amplifies your connection to this field because nature operates from pure intelligence without the interference of mental conditioning. A tree doesn't second-guess its growth patterns or worry about its worthiness to photosynthesize. It simply aligns with the intelligence that knows exactly how to transform sunlight and soil into magnificent form. Chapter 7. The Art of Mental Minimalism. Marie Kondo revolutionized how people think about physical possessions with a simple question: does this spark joy? But what if you applied this same principle to your thoughts? What if you became as selective about what you allow into your mental space as you are about what you allow into your home? A cluttered mind cannot manifest clearly because it's constantly broadcasting mixed signals into the quantum field. Every thought carries an energetic signature, and when your mind is filled with worry, doubt, resistance, and random mental chatter, you're essentially sending contradictory instructions to the universe. Mental minimalism means becoming the curator of your consciousness, allowing only thoughts that align with your highest vision to take up residence in your awareness. Think of your thoughts like a dating app for your consciousness. When a thought appears, you have three options: swipe right and engage with it, swipe left and let it pass, or put your phone down entirely and rest in the space between thoughts. Most people automatically swipe right on every thought that appears, getting into long conversations and relationships with mental patterns that don't serve them. But conscious manifestors learn to be selective about which thoughts deserve their attention. Here's the crucial insight: engagement with any thought gives it power and momentum. When you argue with a negative thought, you're actually strengthening its neural pathway. When you try to push away an unwanted thought, you're giving it the energy of resistance, which keeps it circulating in your mental space. The art of mental minimalism involves observing thoughts without being consumed by them, allowing them to arise and pass away naturally without adding your energy to their momentum. The do-less lifestyle becomes essential when you understand that manifestation operates on the principle of allowing rather than forcing. Most people's minds are like overpacked schedules, so busy with mental activity that there's no space for inspiration, intuition, or divine guidance to emerge. Creating mental space means saying no to unnecessary thought patterns the same way you'd say no to unnecessary commitments. Start practicing mental minimalism by setting specific times for thinking. Instead of allowing your mind to run commentary all day long, designate periods for planning, problem solving, and creative thinking, then practice returning to present moment awareness between these sessions. This isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about becoming more intentional about when and how you use your mental energy. Create micro moments of stillness throughout your day by using transition times as opportunities for mental minimalism. When you're walking from one room to another, sitting at a red light, or waiting for an elevator, resist the impulse to fill these spaces with mental activity or phone checking. Instead, drop into the spacious awareness that exists before thoughts arise. The goal isn't to have a blank mind, it's to have a clear mind. Like a clear mountain lake that perfectly reflects the sky, a clear mind reflects divine guidance and inspired action with perfect accuracy. When you're not constantly stirring up the waters of consciousness with mental agitation, you naturally begin receiving the subtle impressions and intuitive nudges that guide you toward your highest good. Divine guidance doesn't usually come as dramatic revelations or burning bushes. It comes as quiet knowings, gentle impulses, and synchronistic alignments that only become apparent when you've created enough mental space to perceive them. The quieter your mind becomes, the more sensitive you become to these subtle communications from your higher intelligence. Chapter 8. Trust and the Art of Divine Timing. Every morning, millions of people order packages online with complete certainty that their purchases will arrive, even though they can't see the delivery trucks, don't know the warehouse workers, and have no control over the shipping process. They trust a complex system of strangers to coordinate countless details and deliver exactly what they order to exactly the right address at exactly the right time. Yet these same people struggle to trust the universe to deliver their manifestations with the same precision and reliability. Manifestation requires this same level of unshakable trust in an unseen process that's infinitely more intelligent and organized than any shipping company. The universe is constantly orchestrating countless variables, people, circumstances, opportunities, and timing to deliver your desires in the most beneficial way possible. Your job isn't to figure out how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen. Your job is to maintain the same expectant certainty you have when tracking a package online. The shift from knowing to trusting represents a quantum leap in manifestation mastery. Knowing is mental. It's based on evidence, logic, and past experience. Trusting is existential. It's based on your fundamental recognition that you're supported by an intelligence that knows exactly what you need and exactly when you need it. When you order a package, you don't check the tracking every 5 minutes out of doubt. You check it out of excitement and curiosity, already knowing it's on its way. This distinction becomes crucial when developing faith without physical evidence. Your manifestations exist in the realm of pure potential before they crystallize into physical form, just like your package exists in the shipping system before it arrives at your door. The delivery confirmation email represents the moment you place your manifestation order through clear intention. The tracking updates represent the signs and synchronicities that indicate your manifestation is moving through the quantum field toward physical expression. Divine timing operates according to principles that transcend human impatience and limited perspective. What feels like delay from your viewpoint might be perfect coordination from the universe's perspective. Sometimes manifestations need to wait for other elements to align. People to grow, circumstances to shift, or your own readiness to develop. Sometimes what you think you want isn't what you actually need, and the universe is preparing something even better than you imagined. Human impatience stems from the illusion that you're separate from what you desire and that it exists out there in some future timeline. But divine timing recognizes that you and your desire are already unified in consciousness. The physical manifestation is simply the universe catching up to what's already true in the realm of pure potential. This understanding transforms waiting from anxious anticipation into peaceful expectancy. Maintaining faith during the apparent delay period requires cultivating what spiritual teachers call divine indifference. Caring deeply about the outcome while holding it lightly enough that your happiness doesn't depend on its arrival. This paradoxical state creates the perfect energetic conditions for manifestation because you're emotionally invested enough to maintain clear intention without being attached enough to create resistance. Practice trust by treating your manifestations like packages you've already ordered. Check in with them occasionally through prayer or meditation. Not from doubt, but from the joyful anticipation of someone expecting a wonderful surprise. Notice any signs that your package is moving through the system, synchronicities, opportunities, or shifts in your circumstances, and receive these signs with gratitude rather than impatience for more evidence. When doubt arises, remind yourself that the universe has never failed to deliver exactly what someone truly needed at exactly the right time. Every flower blooms when it's ready. Every child is born when it's time, and every manifestation appears when all conditions are perfectly aligned for its highest expression. Your desires are no exception to this cosmic timing. Chapter 9. Integration, Living from Stillness. The monastery bells ring at dawn, and the monk rises for meditation. After an hour of deep stillness, he walks mindfully to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, maintaining perfect presence while chopping vegetables. He serves the meal in silence, washes dishes with complete attention, and tends the garden with the same awareness he brings to prayer. For this monk, there's no separation between spiritual practice and daily life. Every activity becomes an opportunity to express his connection to Source. This is the art of integration, bringing the profound stillness you discover in meditation into every moment of your ordinary day. True manifestation mastery doesn't require you to spend hours in formal practice. It requires you to maintain your connection to the field of pure potentiality while navigating emails, commutes, conversations, and all the seemingly mundane activities that fill human life. Most people compartmentalize their spiritual practice, treating it like a vitamin they take once a day before returning to their regular consciousness. They meditate for 20 minutes, then spend the remaining 23 hours and 40 minutes operating from stress, reaction, and unconscious patterns. This approach severely limits their manifestation power because consciousness creates reality continuously, not just during designated spiritual times. Living from stillness means cultivating what Eckhart Tolle calls presence, the ability to remain anchored in aware consciousness regardless of what's happening around you. When you're washing dishes, you're not just cleaning plates while thinking about tomorrow's meeting. You're fully present to the warm water, the smooth ceramic, the simple miracle of this moment. This quality of attention transforms ordinary activities into doorways to the sacred. The difference between being busy and being productive becomes clear when you approach tasks from stillness rather than anxiety. Busy people rush through activities while mentally rehearsing future scenarios or replaying past conversations. Productive people bring complete attention to whatever they're doing, allowing each action to emerge from the same source of intelligence that grows flowers and moves planets. Create micro moments of stillness throughout your day by using routine activities as mindfulness bells. Every time you open a door, take 3 conscious breaths. Every time you wash your hands, feel the water temperature and notice the sensation. Every time you sit down, spend a moment appreciating the support of the chair. These tiny practices weave threads of awareness throughout your day, preventing you from losing your connection to Source amid outer activity. Maintaining alignment during challenges requires remembering that stillness isn't a state you achieve. It's what you are. You can't lose your connection to pure consciousness any more than the ocean can lose its connection to water. What appears to be loss of stillness is simply temporary identification with thoughts and emotions rather than resting in the awareness that observes them. When facing difficulties, use them as opportunities to deepen your practice rather than obstacles that interrupt it. Difficult people become teachers, showing you where you still react unconsciously. Stressful situations become invitations to discover deeper levels of peace. Unexpected changes become chances to practice trust and flexibility. Every challenge contains within it a corresponding gift of expanded awareness. The goal isn't to become someone who never experiences stress, anger, or fear. The goal is to become someone who doesn't lose themselves in these experiences, who can feel the emotion fully while maintaining awareness of the space in which it's arising. This spacious awareness is your home base, the still point around which all of life's activities revolve. Advanced practitioners learn to carry this inner stillness into increasingly dynamic situations. They can remain centered during heated conversations, peaceful during crisis situations, and aligned during major life transitions. Their external circumstances become less and less capable of disturbing their internal equilibrium because they've discovered the unshakable foundation of awareness itself. Chapter 10. The Paradox Realized: Doing Nothing, Receiving Everything. Einstein spent years trying to solve the unified field theory through intense mental effort, filling blackboards with complex equations and working himself to exhaustion. The breakthrough came only when he stopped trying and went sailing. In a moment of complete relaxation, watching clouds drift across the sky, the solution appeared fully formed in his awareness. This perfectly illustrates the ultimate manifestation paradox. The hardest you can possibly work toward something is to stop working toward it entirely. We've journeyed through the principles of effortless manifestation, and now it's time to integrate them into a unified practice that transcends practice itself. The ultimate manifestation technique is the absence of technique, a state of being so aligned with your natural creative power that desires fulfill themselves through you rather than by you. This final paradox asks you to master the art of caring deeply while holding lightly, wanting without attachment, and being fully engaged while completely detached. It sounds impossible because the mind can only understand through opposites and contradictions. But consciousness operates beyond the mind's dualistic thinking, in a realm where apparent contradictions resolve into perfect harmony. Caring deeply while holding lightly means allowing yourself to desire fully while remaining unattached to specific outcomes or timelines. Your desires emerge from the deepest part of your authentic self. They're expressions of your soul's evolutionary impulse. Honor them completely while trusting the universe to fulfill them in ways that might surpass your current imagination. This isn't suppressing desire or pretending not to care. It's loving your desires enough to let them unfold naturally. The ultimate letting go practice involves releasing not just your desires, but your identity as someone who has desires. When you recognize yourself as the consciousness in which desires arise rather than as a person who has desires, the entire manifestation game transforms. Desires begin flowing through you like music flows through an instrument. You become a clear channel for creative expression rather than someone trying to get something. Here's the secret that transcends all techniques. Indifference accelerates manifestation because it removes every trace of resistance from your energy field. When you truly don't care whether something manifests or not, you've eliminated the underlying belief that you're separate from it. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb. It means recognizing that your well-being and completeness aren't dependent on any external condition. Think of yourself as pure consciousness temporarily wearing the costume of a human personality. From this perspective, manifestation becomes play rather than work. You're not a limited being trying to get something from a separate universe. You're the universe itself, exploring what it's like to experience creation from a particular point of view. Every desire is simply consciousness exploring another facet of its infinite potential. Living as pure consciousness in human form means recognizing that everything is already perfect exactly as it is, while simultaneously allowing everything to evolve naturally. This isn't passive acceptance. It's dynamic participation in the creative process from a place of wholeness rather than lack. You become like a master artist who's so absorbed in the joy of creating that the final outcome becomes secondary to the pleasure of expression itself. The practices we've explored, stillness, surrender, present moment awareness, accessing pure potentiality, mental minimalism, trust, and integration, all dissolve into this single recognition. You are what you seek. The peace you're seeking is your nature. The love you're seeking is your essence. The abundance you're seeking is your birthright. The creativity you're seeking is your function. When this recognition becomes your living reality, manifestation happens as naturally as breathing. The ancient mystics spoke of a great awakening that would transform humanity's understanding of its own nature. Scientists are discovering that consciousness itself might be the fundamental fabric of reality. Quantum physicists are proving that observation shapes outcome at the most basic levels of existence. These aren't separate discoveries. They're all pointing toward the same revolutionary truth that you've been exploring throughout this journey. You are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are it, expressing itself through human form. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every emotion you feel is the universe experiencing itself from your unique perspective. This isn't philosophy or positive thinking. It's the actual nature of reality revealed through both ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. The journey from effort to effortlessness isn't just about manifestation. It's about remembering who you truly are. When you stop trying to get something from life and start recognizing yourself as life itself, everything changes. Your desires transform from desperate grasping into natural expression. Your actions emerge from inspiration rather than obligation. Your relationships become opportunities for consciousness to know itself through connection. Stillness isn't just the fastest path to manifestation. It's the recognition that what you're seeking was never actually moving. Peace, love, abundance, and creative power aren't destinations to reach, but qualities to remember. They're not states to achieve, but aspects of your essential nature to uncover. The quieter you become, the more you discover that you already are everything you've been seeking. Surrender accelerates what effort delays because effort is based on the illusion of separation, while surrender is based on the recognition of unity. When you truly let go, you're not giving up your power. You're claiming your real power as consciousness itself. Your consciousness isn't just a tool you use for manifestation. It's the only tool that exists because consciousness is all there is. Trust the process even when you can't see the results because the process is perfect intelligence expressing itself through apparent chaos. Every delay is perfect timing. Every challenge is perfect preparation. Every disappointment is perfect redirection. The universe isn't testing your patience. It's developing your faith in your own divine nature. Your new reality begins the moment you stop trying to create it and start allowing it to emerge. This isn't a future possibility. It's a present opportunity. Right now, in this very moment, you can choose to recognize yourself as the consciousness that creates worlds rather than as a person who lives in a world. This shift in self-recognition instantly transforms your entire experience. The universe isn't waiting for you to become worthy, ready, or spiritual enough. It's waiting for you to get out of its way so it can express its infinite creativity through you. Stop blocking the flow with doubt, effort, and attachment. Start allowing the flow with stillness, trust, and surrender. Commit to daily stillness practice, not as a means to an end, but as a return to your natural state. Release the need to control outcomes, not as giving up, but as claiming your true power. Trust in the perfection of divine timing, not as passive waiting, but as active alignment with cosmic intelligence. Remember, you are the consciousness that creates worlds, temporarily pretending to be someone who lives in a world. The game is over the moment you stop pretending. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey into the paradox of manifestation through stillness. If this audiobook has shifted something within you, please subscribe to Audiobooks Library for more consciousness-expanding content that will continue supporting your awakening journey. Stay still, stay powerful, and watch your reality transform from the inside out. The universe is ready to surprise you with gifts beyond your wildest imagination. All you have to do is get quiet enough to receive them.